Hey everybody, it's Nuclear-Softworks here today, and today I'm going to be going over the basics of the Unity editor. So here I have a basic cube. I created a basic cube in a new project just to show you how to move around the editor. So, to move the camera, right click in the editor and drag left or right, or up and down. Use the arrow keys. Well, to me the arrow keys are WSAD, but use the arrow keys. You can move around the editor while right-clicking and moving the mouse. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and zoom out. Hold mouse 3 or the mouse wheel and move up and down, left and right, and moves the entire map camera back and forth and up and down. Up here, we have the type of views we're going to be using. This is a touch object, basically select object. This is the move object tool. It creates the X, Z, and Y axis so you can move it around on a single axis without throwing it off course. So, we can also move this in the center to move it on all axes. But this doesn't work the same way. Because according to where you are, if I'm, let's say I'm back here and I go like this, instead of it being down here in the same x-axis position, it'd be moved to a different axis position because it doesn't know where to put the cube. When we're dragging it, you can see it brings it over here where it's out of view range. And that's because it's moving on all axes according to where the cursor is. So keep that in mind, that it's much easier to use a single axis than it is to hold the center down here. So I'm going to zoom in here. And let's go ahead and add a texture to our cube. So I'm going to go down here in the Project tab, Standard Assets, Terrain Assets, Terrain Textures, and I'm just going to left click it and drag it to my cube. And now we have a textured cube in the center of our editor. Down here is where all our assets are going to be. When we create new folders, new pref labs, script files, they'll all be stored down here. So you can access them, delete, modify, whatever. Over here is, I don't really know how to say that. I'm just going to go Hierarchy. And this is where all the pref labs and objects in your scene are. By double clicking, the editor will go to the position of that object. If we go to create, we can create a folder, a JavaScript file, a C# script, a Boost script, a shader. And we can create a prefab, a material, an animation, a cube map, a lens flare, a custom font, a physics material, and a GUI skin. The next 5 to 10 lessons, we're going to be going over the basics of scripting and using prefabs, and that's going to be pretty much everything from rotating to texturing. So I'm going to select my cube here. I'm going to go up to my rotate tool, which is right next to the move tool up here, and you'll notice you've got several axes here to work with. You can go across the X, you can go across the Z, and get over here. And the Y. You can snap by holding Control and dragging your mouse across one of the axes. So here we have a nice basic cube. I'm going to delete this cube now by pressing the delete key on my keyboard. After selecting it, of course. You don't want to forget to do that. I'm going to go up here to terrain. I'm going to select create terrain. And now you notice we got this big flat white plane here, this mesh. Let's go ahead and add some hills and textures. So I'm going to use the terrain raise and lower tool here on the side in the inspector view. I'm going to choose a place in the terrain I want my hill to be. I'm going to left click and hold left click down to raise. I'm going to press shift to lower. And here we have the different types of brushes. We have this brush, we have this brush, we have this weird brush, makes pretty some smooth hills and mountains. And now I'm going to go over to my terrain smooth tool, which is the mountain with a drop over here, and I'm going to select the biggest brush. I'm going to left click and hold left click over all my hills to get rid of the big ugly spiky bumps that'll kill you if you step on them, and make them nice and smooth. Now we got some white hilly bumpy terrain here, and it looks kind of boring. It's got some textures. So let's go over to the brush tool, which is over here, paint texture. I'm going to leave the same, use the same brush. I'm going to click edit textures. I'm going to add a texture. And I'm just going to use one that comes with the Unity editor, which is going to be grass. I'm going to hit add. The first texture automatically applies to the entire terrain, so you don't have to paint it for the first time. Now let's add some basic terrain details. Let's click add textures, add texture, and let's add some dirt, which this is a texture I imported. I downloaded off Google. And I'm going to click add. Now I'm going to shrink the brush size, make the brush a little smaller. I'm going to add some basic, nice sandy hills here. Now let's add some trees. So I'm going to go over to the tree tool. I'm going to click edit trees, add tree. I'm going to click the dot here. I'm going to type in tree. I'm going to select big tree. And I'm going to click add. And the brush size I want it to be 100, but the tree density I don't want it to be any more than 20. So we can also change the height of the tree and the width of the tree and place them. Now let's add some paint textures, add some detail to our terrain. So I'm going to click the paint details button. I'm going to go down here and click edit details. I'm going to go over to the detail texture dialog over here, and I'm going to select grass 2. I'm going to leave these all default. Healthy color, which is the color of the grass, the way it should be, and dry color, which is the color if it's dead. So I'm going to change the brush size to be 93. Now I'm just going to put some grass along the outer edges of our sandy dune here by left clicking and dragging the mouse. Then I'm going to press Shift W to move faster inward. I'm going to delete all these extra trees here, or not the trees, the grass, because they shouldn't be growing in sandy areas. Then I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to delete all the grass along the edges here. Because honestly, green grass is not growing on sand, so it shouldn't look like that. Let's go ahead and clean this off. Nice, bold sand dunes. Okay. Let's go ahead and add our player now. So we're going to click down here in Standard Assets in the Project tab. Under Character Controllers, I'm going to left click and drag the first person controller onto the terrain. So here we go, we got a nice player here, but the world looks very dark. So let's go ahead and add a new light. So I'm going to click Game Object, Create Other, Directional Light, and let's move it and rotate it and there we go, a nice smooth terrain. Now let's say we wanted to scale up an object. So I'm going to create a game object, create other, I'm going to create a cube, move it along here. Oh, damn it. Okay, get over there. It's one thing I hate about this editor. Okay, let's just why is there a delay when I press it? There shouldn't be a delay. So let's just get this cube over to where the player is. Close enough. Okay, so we have our cube here. I'm going to click the scale tool. I'm going to select the white one in the center. It's going to scale it on all three axes. Left, right, top. But if I want to scale it one way, I'll just drag the yellow across here to bend it on the x-axis. And then we have the yellow, which is the z-axis. And then we have the green, which is the y-axis. So we have a nice cube here. Over here in the inspector, you'll see all the script properties that we currently have. The transform, which is the object. It means the position, the rotation, and the scale. The cube, which is a mesh filter. Then we have a box collider. Now basically what this is basically a collider box. If I were to deselect this, and we go in and play, and why am my player falling through the terrain? Shouldn't be falling through the terrain. There we go. And you notice we won't collide with the box. I'm going to select box collider. Or whoops, wrong checkbox. And click play. You'll notice we collide with the box. Now, let's go over the scripts of the first-person controller. So here in the side we got the transform, obviously, which is this mesh. Character controller, which is basically the tool that moves the player around. Settings. We have the mouse look. Now, the actual mesh only has the mouse across X. It doesn't control the mouse going up and down Y. Sensitivity, that's how sensitive the movement's going to be. Minimum X, which is negative 360, maximum X, which is 360. This is basically, okay, minimum rotation X is negative 360 degrees, which is all the way around the mesh. Positive, which is all the way around the mesh the other direction. 0, which is obviously 0, and maximum is 0, because we're not going to be using the Y. Character controller, this is responsible for controlling the player, disabling jumping, sliding, movement. Fortunately, they didn't add a feature for sprinting. We will get into that another time, or add our own eventually. And we have the FPS input controller script, which is a JavaScript file. And this is basically the script for the FPS input, first-person shooter input. So, that's pretty much about it for this tutorial. Our next lesson is going to be about creating basic scripts and importing meshes. Sorry for your help. Please leave a comment and click like, and I'll see you guys later.